Welcome to Under Fresher YouTube channel. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a traditional Irish tea cake. This is a nice accompaniment for your morning tea, good for lunches, good for a snack, and in fact it's quite low in fat. So here's what you need. You can pause the video now if you want to take it down. I'll go through it with you. You need 250 grams of sultanas, 250 raisins, a strong cup of black tea, I've used Barry's, an egg, 100 grams of toasted walnuts for about 10 minutes in the oven, 2 tablespoonfuls of milk, 25 grams of mixed peel, 2 tablespoonfuls of brown sugar, 225 grams of plain flour, and then you need a teaspoonful of cinnamon, a teaspoonful of ginger, a teaspoonful of allspice, and a teaspoonful of baking powder. So first things first, you need to put the raisins into a large mixing bowl. And on top of that, you're going to pour in your mixed peel, the sugar, the spices, that's ginger, and a cup of tea. Don't put in the baking powder at this stage or it'll start to react. So mix that and put it to one side and leave it overnight covered. The next thing you're going to do is prepare your tin. You can also do this the night before. There's a rough and there's a smooth edge to greaseproof paper. You want to draw on the rough side with a pencil. So just go around the base of your tin to get the exact size and make sure you have at least 2 to 3 inches around the rectangle that you draw. Now from that you just miter the corner, that's cutting in a diagonal like a picture frame towards the corner of your drawing, and then neatly fold so that the writing is down towards the table, so that the writing, that means that the lead of the pencil won't be touching the cake. And it also means that you're making sure that the smooth side, that's the greaseproof non-stick side, will be touching the cake. So you neatly fold over each edge, and you can fold a tiny bit in from it because it has to fit inside the tin. Then fold over your corners. They can sometimes curl in on each other, so you can trim them a little bit more if you want, but I just normally let them overlap each other in the tin, and this gives you the perfect shape on the inside, and it also saves you on a lot of cleaning up of your tin. So you push that in. There's no need to grease the tin at all. The greaseproof paper will do the job. So you just fold in the edges to each other so that curly bits won't get into the cake and cause, unpleasant shapes. Now you can also use these commercial cake wrappers, but I don't like these in some ways because they're quite expensive for what they are, but they also use a load of plastic, which is not environmentally friendly, but they are super handy, okay? And I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to use the one I cut myself. So I'm going to get my walnuts, I've measured them out and I've toasted them. So I want to just finely chop them all. Now this has to be done with a knife, it can't be done with a food processor because you don't want it too fine, you want little chunks. And then you just gather all of that together and you are going to take the fruit that you soaked overnight, okay, and then put all the nuts into this. It does make a difference when you toast the nuts beforehand, it brings out a kind of nutty flavour. Now to that you're going to just tip in all of the flour. It's really essentially just a mixing recipe. Put in your baking powder there as well, and your egg. Sometimes I use 2 eggs in the mixture depending on how big the egg is. Here I'm going to use milk. Mixing to and fro with my wooden spoon. I just want a nice dropping consistency, not too dry and not too wet. You can add more milk if it's too dry. Okay, and then I'm using a spatula just to make sure that I get all the bits pushed in from the side as well. Then I get my tin and I try to carefully put the mixture in without it all going over the edges. So I centre it down, pouring it all in. And I take your time doing this bit because this is where it can get a little bit sloppy. So just poking down the corners. You don't have to be exact because the weight of the mixture on top will do that pushing down for you. So it gets to a stage where it all goes in, and you can just try to clean that bowl off as much as you can. That saves on washing up, and it means it avoids food waste as well. If you scrape it, you'll get quite a lot of mixture, as you can see. So there's a little knack in doing this, which is worth practicing. So after that happens, what I like to do is make it kind of a crater down the center, like pushing the mixture a tiny bit up towards the edges. And this makes sure that you know, it's going to be cooked all the way in the middle. Because if you flatten it out and just leave it like that, it will rise quite a lot towards the center, and then it might not be cooked in the middle. So that's going to go into the oven for 1 hour at 160 degrees Celsius. And you want to make sure you test it with a skewer, and the skewer comes out clean. It's nice and firm to touch on top. And you take it out of the tin and put it on a cooling tray when you're letting it cool down. Let it cool completely before removing the greaseproof paper so it doesn't fall apart. This is a great recipe if you make a cup of tea and forget about the bag and it gets too strong. You can make a tea cake. You can also take out some of the raisins and put in things like apricots or dried prunes or dates in instead. You could play around with the type of nut you use. You can play around with the spices that you're going to use. You can even substitute some of the milk for any leftover crème fraîche or cream, and it's quite a sustainable recipe for this reason. Thank you for watching this Under Pressure production, made under pressure by Miss Moriarty. Please subscribe.